I think this Pat McAfee story, this meltdown today on his show, is probably the biggest story in sports right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think we haven't seen anything like it in sports talk. Yeah, we've seen buyouts, we've seen, like different situations, but I don't think we've ever seen, ESPN go through a situation where they sign someone and inside of 6 months, it's just a complete meltdown. It's just a complete dumpster fire of a situation. And I think that's what we're seeing with Pat. I look around the landscape, and Pat's really the first sports talk personality that I've come to listen to on pretty much a daily basis where he's not an employee on his show anyway. He's a contractor. He's someone that did a licensing deal, and that's a very different set of circumstances than just firing someone who did SportsCenter for you, right? Like, it's a totally different, beast, if you will. And so, the reason I think this story is the biggest thing in sports today is because, honestly, Pat McAfee has the biggest show in sports talk right now. If you count his YouTube audience in addition to the TV audience, like this guy's crushing the game. The problem is that he's constantly causing problems for the biggest, sports network the world knows, ESPN. So if you're ESPN, how long are you going to put up with this kind of, nonsense, this sort of distraction, this issue, this problem? Like, we haven't seen this before. And I see all the people saying, well, hey, maybe Pat and his style's better at Fox. I actually don't think Pat's better at Fox. Fox is not a young, hip network, in my opinion. Like, their talk shows are older. Their talk shows, yes, are in need of getting younger. But I'm not so sure that Pat going to Fox is a good move. Like, nobody watches Fox now for the most part, although they are improving on Cowherd's side. Like, I just think that Pat's sort of in this rock and a hard place when it comes to ESPN because he's constantly going against the grain there. So I don't understand what Pat's trying to do. I don't understand what ESPN thought he was going to try to do when they signed him to a partnership. And the bigger question is for ESPN, how does this impact the future of the network? Because you just signed this guy to a 5-year deal, and 6 months into it, you're looking at whacking this guy now. You're looking at parting ways with him because he comes out today and is naming executives by name and calling them rats and saying that ESPN's trying to ruin his show. And it's just an ugly situation. So to me, yeah, I do think it's the number one conversation in sports talk today. Jim Harbaugh going to the NFL, we do have exclusive details on that. Yes, that's a big deal. This Pac-12 college football playoff thing, yes, that is a big story. But the Pat McAfee Show and ESPN melting down, I think, has huge, huge ramifications across the landscape. And for that reason, that's why I think it's the number one story right now.
Listen, I think some of the things that you have to consider as we talk about this Pat McAfee thing today, we've covered this pretty extensively because Pat McAfee, whether you want to embrace it or not, Pat McAfee's the face of sports talk in this country. And I love when we talk about this story, inevitably we get the commenter that says, you're just jealous. No, I'm not. I'm not jealous because there is no competing with Pat McAfee. He is the single biggest sports talk platform entity thing we've ever seen. He didn't need ESPN. He wanted ESPN. And the issue is what Jake was talking about, and maybe you don't know this, and if you do, please bear with me. Pat McAfee's show is very different than Pat McAfee on College Game Day. The Pat McAfee Show is a licensed deal. That means that Pat does not work for ESPN. They have no say over his show. They have no creative control over his show. In this Aaron Rodgers situation this weekend, one of the things I found so fascinating is Pat McAfee melts down the exact same day that one of the top mouthpieces at ESPN in their PR department came out and told the media today, hey, we all realize it was a mistake to allow Aaron Rodgers to make a joke about Jimmy Kimmel, and we're rectifying it. And Pat McAfee melts down on his show, talking about how Norby Williamson, who you probably don't even know or care who that is, but Norby is essentially the boss of anything that happens in a studio at ESPN. If it's in a studio, radio, TV, internet, it's on Norby's watch, which means the Pat McAfee Show is on Norby's watch. Pat McAfee on his show today straight up said that Norby Williamson is undermining him and trying to get him out at ESPN. and told a story about how, what did he say, 17 or in 2017, he left Pat McAfee sitting alone in his office for half an hour, disrespecting him.
He's never liked me from the beginning. And then goes on to say that Norby is the only human being to have that information, and he leaked it early, and yada, yada, yada. And I'm just sitting here saying, if you're Pat McAfee, you can't have this both ways. And this is what I think, conceptually, Pat McAfee doesn't quite grasp this yet. So on one hand, you hear Pat all the time on his show say, more people are listening than ever. We're a big deal. We're a big show. And I agree with that. Pat is a big deal. He has a great show. I get burned out on it sometimes, but it is a great show. There's no denying that. He is the #1 sports talk show in the space, bar none. No denying it. I agree with that. But Pat doesn't seem to understand that you can't have it both ways, in the sense that you can't sit here and say, oh, well, we're the biggest sports talk show. More people are listening than ever, XYZ, that whole narrative, but then get upset or say, hey, Norby's trying to ruin our show. He leaked viewership that damage us. Well, here's the problem, Pat. You don't understand that ESPN doesn't give a damn about your YouTube viewership. And I'm pretty sure that's come up in conversation before. I'm pretty sure when you put a deal together with ESPN, they're going to make it very clear to you that their priority is the 2 hours you do on their network every single day. Right?
And remember, it's not just their TV network. It's ESPN Plus. It's ESPN, I think, News he's on, ESPN, the flagship.
Well, then they rerun it too. They re-air it later.
They repackage it. Yeah. And Andy's on ESPN's YouTube channel. And the problem, and let's just talk about the elephant in the room, because I think it's where we're all going. The single biggest issue is that Pat McAfee is going to wind up leaving ESPN the way he has left every other place. And I think this is the tough, hard truth that a lot of Pat fans, including myself, don't love. Pat's a pain in the ass. Pat is high maintenance. It's why he couldn't stick at Barstool. It's why he undid a $30 million a year deal with FanDuel alone. You guys understand, allegedly FanDuel was paying Pat McAfee $30 million a year, and he didn't want to stay there. He didn't want to, and all he had to do was have a show presented by FanDuel. Didn't want to do it. Now he's at ESPN. We're less than a year in, and he is eviscerating them. And when he's not doing it, Aaron Rodgers is doing it. And the only way this ends is with Pat not being at ESPN anymore. Well, here's the problem with that, because people have told us that licensing deal, it says that if you're not on ESPN, you're not anywhere until this deal is up. It's essentially a non-compete, and we've seen this so many times. I think in our pre-show meeting, who did you bring up? Tucker Carlson at Twitter. Mm-hmm. And I think it's the exact same situation. Tucker Carlson got fired by Fox News, and the only place he can do a show is Twitter. The issue for Pat is, in his licensing agreement, it sounds like he would only be able to do 1 hour every day on YouTube on his own YouTube channel. That's it, because that's the only real estate he owns.
And so here's my thing with that part of the conversation. So we all know that Pat doesn't care.
He does not care.
Pat is more than happy to be a red ass about things, more than happy to name Norby Williamson by name, which is totally unprofessional. Like he's willing to, with all due respect to Pat, take a step down in reputation and respect to make his point. And so what I'm getting at is that the agreement, we've been told, says that apparently, and my feeling is Pat's going to fight that tooth and nail. So let's say tomorrow Pat and ESPN part ways, and tomorrow was Pat's first day not at ESPN.
Right.
You really telling me that Pat's not going to do 3 hours the first day is not at ESPN? You really telling me that Pat's not going to make it a thing where they have to go to court or they have to...
But this is different than Brett Favre. And I saw this on Twitter today. A lot of people are like, well, Pat's just going to fight him like he did Brett Favre. Brett Favre had a baseless lawsuit, in my opinion, against Pat McAfee. Fell apart, never went anywhere. This is the ACC in Florida State. Pick your contractual argument, Pac-12 or whatever. There's a contract in place. And I think a lot of people right now are ripping ESPN and saying that ESPN just wants him to conform and he won't change. He's Pat. Well, the problem is ESPN has a very hands-off approach to his show. Nobody is telling Pat McAfee what to do. The problem is Pat is doing things, I think, intentionally to poke the ESPN bear. This Aaron Rodgers situation, you cannot believe if you are Pat McAfee and you're making, by some reports, $50 million a year, and we'll see if that's true or not or whatever. He's making a lot of money from ESPN.
Yes.
You really think it's going to fly on your talk show to have Aaron Rodgers come on and shred at the time Diana Rossini and Adam Schefter and say that they're liars and they don't have any credibility? You think that's okay? And then you're going to have Aaron Rodgers on a weekly basis to poke the ESPN bear routinely. And then this Jimmy Kimmel thing. And again, this isn't I saw everybody in the comments yesterday saying that our politics suck over Jimmy Kimmel. It's not politics. See, you guys make it personal. To ESPN, it's not personal, it's business.
Yeah.
It's business. When you have an entity like Jimmy Kimmel who makes Disney, the parent company of ESPN and ABC, a lot of money, and you have Aaron Rodgers going on Pat McAfee, who doesn't make you a lot of money at this point. He does not make you a lot of money. It's an important distinction. I've been very clear about this. I've told you, we talk to people at ESPN. I know people at ESPN. Pat McAfee does not make them money yet because the exorbitant amount they pay him, it's going to take time to earn that money back. So you're in your infancy with ESPN, less than 6 months in, and Aaron Rodgers is calling one of Disney's highest profile talents, whether you like Jimmy Kimmel or not, he is one of their highest profile talents. He's calling him a pedophile. With no proof, no evidence, just throwing it out there.
Mm-hmm.
That's not taking it personal from ESPN and ABC and Disney. That's bad business.
And I also think, and I see this point is going around. I think it's a great point that AJ Hawk is the one who brought up the Epstein list when Aaron Rodgers was on.
Yeah.
I just want to point that out. Like I hadn't noticed that until I went back and watched the whole thing. AJ Hawk's the one who brought that up. So Pat brought it on himself. So I've kind of changed a little bit in the sense that, yeah, Aaron Rodgers, of course, is the guy that's going to say that, but that's on Pat. That's your guy. He's on your show. AJ Hawk is on your show every single day.
And again, I just ask you, if you had the opportunity to say about any famous person on any show, hey, he's really worried about being on the Epstein list, you don't think that would be you don't think that'd be a thing?
I mean, it's a huge problem, and I think that people just don't care about professionalism.
Mapes, are you kidding me? He never called him a pedo my hell. He absolutely called him a pedophile when he said Jimmy Kimmel's worried about the Epstein list. I'm sorry, if you're worried about the Epstein list, why are you worried about it?
Yeah, so if you're on the Epstein list, what does that make you? A pedophile. Thanks. See you later.
This is the kind of comment that really frustrates me, because this is just playing games. And this is why we don't take comments on stuff like this, because it just gets off the rails with you guys. Jimmy Kimmel's chef knows what Kimmel did. Oh, really? Because Jimmy Kimmel's best friend, who's not his chef, by the way, Jimmy Kimmel's best friend, they've known each other for decades, worked for Epstein as his personal chef. So if your best friend committed murder, does that mean you're guilty as well?
No.
It's stuff like this that is absolutely ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous.
And by the way, none of that even matters, because the point is you shouldn't be going on ESPN calling someone a pedophile.
It's outrageous to me that we continue to do this with this Aaron Rodgers. You think it's okay to just, without evidence, and again, Jimmy Kimmel's name by every major news source, there's a Reuters story on it. Jimmy Kimmel's name appears nowhere in the Epstein stuff. Nowhere. Not one time. Never. Anywhere.
But let's say that let's be out here talking about how, no, he didn't call him a pedophile. My hell.
All I'm saying is you can't have You can't have Aaron Rodgers saying Jimmy Kimmel's worried about the Epstein list on the largest sports talk platform. That's just not.
The difference is
you're not going to have that.
You guys are more concerned about talking junk on Jimmy Kimmel. We're having a conversation about ESPN's business tactics and how Pat McAfee is damaging the relationship. So get on the same page here.
I'm telling you, this thing with Pat McAfee is a big, big deal, because this is where Pat McAfee ends up every place he's stopped.
And Pat McAfee doesn't understand his responsibility in the industry, which is what truly upsets me. You don't understand.
Well, that's an interesting point.
You're the first one to have done what you did, which is, hey, I'm an athlete. So he became the first one to get on ESPN in this way. There have been numerous athletes who've started podcasts and done shows. We all know that. There's a whole woodwork of them. But not everybody went to Barstool, then FanDuel, then ESPN.
Do you understand the battles between between Barstool and ESPN, and the talent that is not allowed on ESPN because of their affiliation with Barstool, and that relationship they tried to create that melted down? The idea that a guy like Pat McAfee, who admittedly does not know much about sports, is a football guy, and that's about it. And this is, I think, much to the credit of his critics. This is where the beer drinking, tank top wearing Pat McAfee becomes a problem for ESPN. Because I will also tell you, nobody hasn't been wearing tank tops since this whole thing blew up last week.
Yeah, this is no longer just a couple of day thing. It's been 3 weeks.
Yeah, this is a big deal. And it is, you can't let Aaron Rodgers exact his revenge on Jimmy Kimmel with a wild accusation on the largest sports talk platform in the world. That's as simple, whatever you think about, because I'm not debating all the lists and all that BS anymore. It's ridiculous. It doesn't matter where you come down, left, right, center. I don't care. You can't have Aaron Rodgers taking out frustration and revenge on Jimmy Kimmel on the Pat McAfee Show.
No.
That's just, it's not going to, you're going to get sued. You quite literally are going to get sued because Pat McAfee and Aaron Rodgers allowed that to happen.
Yep.
And does Aaron Rodgers care about that? I'm going to guess he doesn't, because he's made it very clear he doesn't like ESPN either.
Yep.
So you're just in this awkward situation now where, here we go with Pat today calling out one of the most powerful executives at ESPN is trying to sabotage his show because ratings information was leaked to the New York Post. And all of you guys said yesterday that, it doesn't matter, and Pat's viewership has always been on YouTube. And I again, you guys are talking about your personal beliefs. We talk about what ESPN cares about, TV ratings. They hired Pat McAfee to buoy their TV ratings, and he has not done that. In fact, he's done the exact opposite.
Mm-hmm.
And he is one of those guys that I think is difficult to sell financially. To harness him from a revenue standpoint is very difficult. So I just think it's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out, because I think the only way it plays out is with Pat McAfee not on ESPN anymore and not doing sports talk for several years.
And I think that's I think the damage that would do to the industry is not measurable at this point. I think it's very difficult to measure the distrust that industry leaders like ESPN and Fox and whoever else you want to point to would have in future opportunities like Pat McAfee. Yeah. I think that's what's so disappointing about it. I don't have any type of issue with the content you do or how you go about your show. Just as long as whoever you're partnered with, you're honoring your portion of the partnership, because to this point, again, I no matter where you come down on any of the Kimmel stuff or whatever, I don't really care about that. What matters is, to this point, he hasn't made him $1. He hasn't made him any money, and he's made money, right? Because think about it. Pat's got YouTube, he's got ESPN, he's got Game Day, he's got on the field stuff during the college football playoff semifinal, right? Like, he's all over the place, and he's not making them any money. And that's what I think you just can't. I don't know. I think ESPN thought, oh well, it's Pat McAfee, and
I think ESPN didn't fully understand who they were getting into business with. And you're getting WWE WrestleMania Pat McAfee. You're getting Barstool Pat McAfee. You're getting, the guy that walked away from a $30 million a year deal with FanDuel. That's who you're getting. Yeah. And you're not going to like who you get. You're not always going to like it, but you knew this was coming. All right, less of us, more of you on Giving Friday. Now, again, I want to point out that certain people on this show did not honor their agreement.
Mm-hmm.
And I think here on the show, that, Giving Tuesday and Friday is always presented by BuckedUp. And Jake, I'm just going to turn the floor over to you.
You're not.
So that you can apologize to the masses now.
I'm not apologizing for anything. I didn't call Jimmy Kimmel a pedophile.
No, but you also didn't shave the
Yeah, it's not a top priority.
The thing.
Yeah, not top priority.
But you promised you would shave it.
And I will.
Okay. Eventually.
Yeah, it's just not top priority.
Well, we're going to the bar. We're going to see Jay Taffa tomorrow. Yeah, Maybe he can shave it for you.
There you go. I'll have him shave it. You can put it on video. How about that?
It's very weak.
I know.
It's very weak. Giving Tuesday, done this Friday, presented by BuckedUp. BuckedUp, the official energy provider of the Monty Show. Here it is. We're giving away a $100 Amazon gift card today, as we always do on Giving Tuesday. Just as a way to say thanks. Maybe it'll ease some of your burden. Maybe you can buy diapers. I bought electrolyte tabs last night that were delivered at 4 a.m. this morning. I use Amazon for everything, and I know most of us do, so we like to give away Amazon gift cards to help you with that. All you have to do is show us your BuckedUp on Twitter or Instagram, and we'll have you go with Jake again. SLC Jake on Twitter or Instagram. Even TikTok. Jake is on TikTok, even though he never uses it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on TikTok. You can follow me on TikTok, but that's fine. The Monty Show on TikTok. But you tag Jake, SLC Jake, DM him, tag him on Twitter, tag him on Instagram, showing us you have BuckedUp. And maybe you just go on the description in the show below and you hook up the number one request that I have gotten recently. Hey, I've had so many dudes say, is there anything for my girlfriend, my wife, my significant other at BuckedUp, because I'm the one that's always getting stuff. Well, here you go. We hooked it up with BuckedUp for their Babe line, which is everything that you need for your girl to thrive. It's $9.99. It's a 9-sample packet, and it's amazing. Pre-workout, Babe Boost, collagen, greens. It is an amazing package. It's in the description below, and look at the shaker. You get a beautiful contour shaker for your girlfriend, your wife, your mom, your sister. It's right there in the link below. It's $9. They'll send it right to your front door. There you go. You guys asked, and I know that a lot of people obviously, think working out and supplements are for men. It's not. Supplements and working out and energy drinks and things like, I don't know, a Buckshot. Yes, Buckshot back in stock. It's for men and women. So click the link in the description, get your BuckedUp Babe, get her the hookup, and then send a screenshot of that to Jake. And in 2 hours from right now at 4:30 Pacific, 7:30 Eastern, we're going to give away a $100 Amazon gift card on the show just to say thank you. Thank you for everything you do. Thanks for supporting the show. Until then, cheers. Here's a Buckshot to close the week. Man, I do love me some Blue Raz. Get to BuckedUp.com. Use the promo code Monty to save 20% off at checkout. Let's see. Who's the first one in today? Cleveland Rocks for $5. How about Joe Flacco getting a week off? So you guys are in the playoffs already. Only able to watch your program on rerun since we are in Florida for the winter. Let's go.
Let's go, baby.
Dude, I'm in, most of you know where we do the show live in Utah every day. And it is a blazing snowstorm today. And it's about, I don't even know what is the temperature outside, 29 degrees outside right now. I wish I was in Florida because I'm watching the Century Open in Maui, and it's killing me that I can't golf.
And they're saying it's going to be 0 degrees next weekend.
Not good. Cleveland, enjoy Florida. We enjoy your show a lot. Go Browns. Thanks, Cleveland Rocks. Appreciate you. Brandon Butler gives 10.
Let's go, baby. Pay forward.
10 members I love it, Brandon. Thank you so much. Lopes fan Gabe, who's been a member of the show for 12 months.
Let's go, baby. Let's go.
Let's go. 1 year. Lopes fan Gabe has been a member of this show.
Appreciate
Thank you,
bro.
Lopes fan Gabe.
Appreciate
Appreciate you. He says, Pat Mac, what a jagoff. I'm a huge Pat McAfee fan. I listen to the Pat McAfee Show every day. I watch it on ESPN every day. And usually we watch it on YouTube while we're working in the background. And I'm a huge Pat fan. That's the biggest problem of this. And we got into this whole Aaron Rodgers ridiculousness, which tells you exactly the problem with Aaron Rodgers on that show. But if Pat McAfee leaves ESPN, you're not going to hear from him. He will not be doing, everybody's, he'll be doing a show at Fox. No, he won't. Not until his licensing agreement ends at ESPN. And that's the worst part of this. If this turns into a meltdown, and I can't see, you don't rip one of the most powerful people at ESPN and have no repercussions from it. You don't. And man, I hope that we don't have days where Pat McAfee's show's not on, because it makes my day better. I know you're not a fan, and most times Jake is dry heaving while watching that show.
Well, I just my biggest thing is that I there are some days where it's not sports talk. I'll be honest.
A lot of days.
It's not a sports talk show. It's an entertainment show. You either like Pat or you don't. And I guess I'm probably more of a stickler about it because obviously I host a show. We do a show every day. I know what goes into it. I know, professionalism. I know like how it should be done. And, I look at it and, I think that it really bothers me, man. I'll be honest with you guys. It really bothers me that Pat doesn't appreciate, in my opinion, he does not appreciate the position that he's in and what he could get done in this partnership. You do not appreciate just how much you could grow, just how far you could take it. And that's what disappoints me.
And it is tough. ESPN's not an easy place to work. Full disclosure, I used to work there. But ESPN is not an easy place to work. It is a meat grinder. It is, you're in a competitive industry, man. And when you're at ESPN, dude, you feel the pressure to perform. And that's why I always say it is the best years of my career, because every day you walk in there tuned up and ready to perform. And I just don't think that's what Pat's show is. And for once, I'm actually siding with ESPN on something, because I think ESPN, you made a mistake. You made a mistake. You should not have just turned over the keys to the network to him for 3 hours every day.
Right.
That was a mistake. But you also should not have expected him to do what he's done either. And with the Aaron Rodgers stuff, with the Washington State stuff,
well, that's the other thing. They're not asking him to do anything insane. I mean, really, to ask him, based on what I've seen and what's kind of common knowledge at this point, is just, hey, like, don't rip the network. Like, just respect the network. Like, you don't have to say positive things, certainly. But how about we refrain from, excuse my French, being an asshole about it? Like, how about we refrain from trashing your partner? And that's the other thing. I don't feel like, and this has kind of been your point, like, I don't feel like Pat really values a partnership. Pat is simply pay me as much money as possible, and I'm just going to do what I do, and that's it. And you can't do that anymore. That's just not going to work.
It doesn't work that way. It does not work that way. Now, I will say I'm very excited that merch is coming very quickly. I just got some renderings of our merch. And love
it.
Yeah, I love it too.
Love it.
I love it too. We'll have merch is coming. Very excited. I told you.
You know what we should do? It's 3:31 Mountain Time. Should we give a slight discount to our members only group? And if you get in the members only group by the end of this program, you could be applicable for that discount.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm good with that.
I mean, we could do that.
We
could do that.
Boston Mapes. ESPN has an engraved history of they're going to mess this up. Jameel Hill. I don't know.
Really throwing Jameel Hill in with Pat McAfee, bro.
That was her and Michael Smith. That was a mistake. Michelle Beadle, Rush Limbaugh. Rush Limbaugh was a mistake, no doubt. Nichols and Taylor, Sage Steele, They brought the bull in a China shop. They should own. I think they're owning it. What do you mean they should own it?
Yeah. By the way, they were the ones who said, "Hey, we messed up."
Yeah, they
And
literally
it wasn't even their show.
Their PR department said today we all knew it was a mistake in the moment. Like, what do you mean they should own? Like, what do you want them to own?
They literally did own it.
Mapes, I don't know why you're such a contrarian on this, and I don't know what your beef is with Pat McAfee, and I can't remember the other thing you were all fired up about the other day. Like, I don't understand. So there are people who are going to hate ESPN no matter what. ESPN's a lot of things. They're a business. That's what they are. They're a sales company, period. They happen to sell TV, and sure, they have units that produce TV and entertainment and all that great stuff. ESPN, ABC, Disney, all of them. What are they? They're a sales company. When you are allowing wild, reckless content to impact your sales on a show that's already sagging financially and ratings-wise, you're going to do something about it.
You're creating unsellable content, bro.
I just don't think this is that difficult.
And I still, from me to you, Mapes, don't understand why you want to be like, oh, well, Aaron didn't call him a pedo. Like, why can't we say, yeah, he actually
Yeah,
did. He did. He did. This is not my opinion. He did. So let's stop trying to have an argument about something that's not really up for discussion. He did. He shouldn't have. And now it's gotten so bad that ESPN has literally come out and issued an apology for a show that's not even their show. They don't produce that show. They don't do anything with that show.
If you look at the camera work on that show, you fully understand
garbage.
They don't produce that show.
Which is my other gripe about the Pat McAfee show.
Jake complains about the camera work on that show. And when they have guests that are on remote, like they're off center every day, I don't know why they can't fix that.
Every time that Pat McAfee is on location in the college football season, there are issues, whether his video feed blinks, whether the audio cuts out, whether he looks like he's freezing cold at Utah, whether he looks like he's scorching hot because they can't find an easy up to put him under. Like, dude, how difficult is this?
Yeah.
And that's my thing for ESPN. This is a major, let's be clear. Pat McAfee's show in its current format is a major step down in professionalism for the most professional network in the business. Like, say what you want. Like, ESPN's liberal, ESPN's this, ESPN's that, whatever. I don't care about any of that. I'm talking about the content you put out has taken a major step down since Pat's joined the network. And that's a problem for ESPN.
It's tough to argue that. So, and again, Mapes, you're entitled to your opinion. I think you're a contrarian on this. I do. Let's see. Little Jimmy, a member for a month.
Oh, I appreciate
Little Jimmy,
you, bro.
thank you.
Let me get the, here we go. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Have we talked about Will Howard to Ohio State? We did. I think it's a huge win for Ohio State. We talked about it when it happened yesterday on the show. I think it's a huge win for Ohio State. I think it's inarguable that Will Howard was the best available quarterback in the portal. And the other thing is with Tulia Tagovailoa going into the transfer portal today, and like 10 of you got on Twitter when I said, hey, he's going to have a waiver.
Mm-hmm.
This would be his 6th year. He's going to need a waiver. Oh, no, he doesn't. No, 247 said he was clear. He's going to need a waiver. Tua's brother, the all-time leading passer at Maryland and in the Big Ten, I believe, is in the portal and most people believe he wants to go to Miami to play one more year. Problem is I think he played in 5 games at Alabama the year he was there. Then he transferred to Maryland, and everybody was like, well, he graduated. It doesn't matter if he graduated. He's out of eligibility.
Yeah.
He's played as many years. He's played 6 years. He would have to get a waiver, and he doesn't have the cause and effect to get a waiver approved, I don't think. So we'll see. He's already applied for it. But, yeah, I think that Will Howard to thee is one of the best moves that Ryan Day could have made.
Yeah, he needed it. There's no question.
Absolutely. It's a huge upgrade to Kyle McCord. I think it's a big deal.
Yeah.
I think it is a very big deal. Wow, really? Illumindursky gifted us 20 Monty Show membership.
Dude, appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Let's
Thank
go.
you. Pick them up. Anybody picking them up? Can we see if people
Oh,
are
yeah.
picking them up?
Yeah, everybody's picking them up. On a Giving Friday, you gifted 20 memberships. Phil Venzer, Ron Ward, Trent Cien, Doc Rob,
Let's go.
Adam Salamini got another membership. That's great news.
Man, that's
the
great.
Big Lubbock, JoJo Boyd, who yesterday was JoJo. They tell me that you were put in timeout for something you said, man.
You are what you are.
Understand, you got to be very careful with that stuff when you are when you're just throwing it out there. Understand that it is YouTube is notorious.
Gary, so today's Giving Tuesday on a Friday, right?
Yes.
And we know that Gary competes every week.
Yes.
He's just DM'd me and said he's going to sit out today. So he's copping out today.
He's going to sit out today.
Yeah, he's copping out.
Okay.
He's copping out.
John DeLon, Sean McBride, Kyle Visser, Dallas Marquez, everybody. Wow, look at that. The mayor of Montytown.
Whoa.
The mayor of Montytown.
Is he back?
I have to find him there he is. The mayor of Montytown, Jeremy Bolton. Good to see you, dude.
Yeah, what's up, bro?
Good to see you. I'm glad to be listening live again. I've been MIA deep in Spartan's hole.
Okay. Bro, come
Dude,
on.
what am I supposed to do with
like,
that?
what the hell do you expect us to do with deep in Spartan's hole, dude?
Macaque.
Like, come on.
Come on, man. Boston Mapes says, my apologies, friends, got moved to overnights. Ooh. I used to work overnights for years.
Overnights is like, I feel like overnights is one of those deals as people, like, you either thrive in that thing or it's like a miserable patch of your working time.
There's not enough bucked up candy cherry to keep from being thrown off, dude.
Bro, you ain't even kidding with that, though.
That is one of the most underrated flavors.
See, this is why
bucked up.
This is why I'm good with you, Boston. I'm good with you because you come in here and you make, Geogolf comments about Pat McAfee and Aaron Rodgers, but then we can agree on bucked up. So way to play both sides. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I feel for you on that, dude. I worked overnights for a long time. James gives us $5. Say McAfee is not a good fit for ESPN. Bring back David Pollock on Saturdays.
Yay!
I have a YouTube channel. I always treat other fans well. Have to act professionally.
Well,
there is that.
I guess my biggest the sole thing that I struggle with is that Pat just exudes arrogance. I'll be honest. Like that's how.
But wouldn't you if you were Pat?
No. And you know why I wouldn't? Like privately, sure. If off the air, sure. But when you're on the air and in partnership with ESPN, or I would go out on a limb and say Fox or CBS or whoever, dude, you can't be trashing that network.
No. I agree with that.
Like you can't be having this arrogant ass stance on network, bro.
But I thought you meant as to what he's built. He came from nothing. The guy grew up dirt poor, goes to West Virginia, comes to the NFL, becomes an all-pro, Pro Bowl kicker. Gets injured, retires, and then just builds a media empire. If that's not the American dream, what is? Now, what he's done in his stops, I am a massive believer in relationships. I think when you are trusted with somebody's car, you need to drive it carefully.
Yes.
And respectfully, and you need to be thoughtful about it. And I think if you listen to the show, we do that. I'm a big believer in the people who believe in us. We're going to treat them like gold. That includes you. Every single person that listens to this show, the advocates, Bucked Up, Tri-Day Trading, Prize Picks, the people who invest, I just can't believe that Pat has done this again. That's the shocking part. No, not you, Gumby. Not you. Not you. No. Mike Smith, how are you? Kaufman, how are you? Gumby Fresh Out says, "Suh, dude. Suh, dude." LOL, he is an ex-kicker. He is an ex-kicker. But the guy, I don't, if you listen to Pat McAfee's show, he's never going to be the most intelligent guy in the room on sports. He's not. And he doesn't pretend to be that.
And I agree with that.
But if I were Pat McAfee, I'd be damn proud of what I've built as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because Dude, it's hard to, I mean, Jake and I grind on this shit every single day, man. And it is so we were giddy last night that we finally cracked, what was it, 44,000 subscribers.
Yeah.
Like we had been going through it.
We're texting this morning at, what was that, like 5 a.m., 5:45 a.m.,
Yeah.
something like that. Like, dude, it's your whole life. And so I'm not trying to crap on what the guy's built, but what I'm saying is that it doesn't matter what you've built if you're going to treat your current level of success the way he's treating it. That's the thing. You can't,
Absolutely.
I can't emphasize this enough, and I only know this because we experience it firsthand every day in what we're trying to build. Like, you can't get to that level where you're partnering with ESPN for by all reports, $50 million and then some a year, and then just think you can just do whatever you want.
You can't rip an executive
work,
by name.
I just don't understand what you were thinking.
And if you had a relationship with the people at ESPN, you could pick up the phone and say, hey, Norby or whoever, this and that. But it is what it is. Eric Wasikowski. Big weekend for the Lions.
Seriously.
Pat is better fit for Fox Sports, but he doesn't have an avenue to Fox Sports.
Well, I've seen everyone saying, oh, well, hey, Fox Sports is the network that lets you say whatever you want. And while I do agree that that's kind of how they do things over there, I don't know that Fox really as a company helps Pat. If you're Pat McAfee, you look at Fox, you're like, yeah, I don't know. Like, is going to Fox really, with all due respect on the sports talk side, any bigger than what he had built himself?
No.
From a listenership standpoint, even at FanDuel?
If Pat McAfee leaves ESPN, he should go back to him. And the problem is, and you probably don't care about this, Pat left his own thing because it became too much work. And he's having a baby or he just had a baby. Obviously, he's married, just had a baby. He has this massive business he's growing. Now he's doing College Game Day. Now I'm not trying to pat us on the back. This is a lot of work. I'm not even joking. It is. We do everything on this show. If it gets sold, if it's talked about, it's a lot of work, man. And it's a 24/7 job. And it became a grind on Pat. He's their accountant. He's their payroll guy. He's their HR guy. He's their mechanic. He's their everything. And he gave away his $30 million FanDuel deal to go to ESPN. And now I don't believe he can go back to FanDuel. I don't. But do you want to be Dan Le Batard? Does anybody know where to find Dan Le Batard's show?
No.
I don't either. Do you want to be like Jim Rome's a great example?
Yeah.
Nobody knows where to watch Jim Rome on TV. I know because we watch it pretty much every day as well.
But you know the thing? It's funny you bring him up because I think the key difference is Jim's not trying to be some juggernaut of a TV show. He
knows what he is.
Yeah, he's like, hey, I do this kind of show, and it's really a radio product. And if you listen to the show at all, you know that he makes kind of fun or like just has fun with the fact that his show gets preempted by soccer on CBS Sports Network. Whether that's, they have all kinds of offerings that they preempt his show with.
Yeah.
So the difference is that Jim understands when not to mess it up. And I think you make a great point about, hey, dude, Pat just had a kid. Pat went to ESPN to alleviate some of the workload. And then what did you do? You took that for granted. You said, I'm at ESPN now. I can do what I want to do. And you took a dump on it. Like, I hate saying that, but that's what he's done.
That's what he's done.
And so now we're at a point where we're looking at potentially, right? Nobody's said it yet, but this is where everything's going. You parting ways with ESPN and getting beat over the head with a non-compete for 4.5 years.
I think that's a mistake.
How does that pan, Pat?
I don't know.